Inside Scoop Virginia, all the news Virginians want to know. Now here's the host of Inside Scoop Virginia, George Burke.
Welcome to tonight's program, Inside Scoop Virginia. My guest is Lori Alexander, who is running for Congress in the 11th District. We have 4 candidates running in the 11th. We have Lori, we have Leslie Byrne. I'm doing them alphabetically because they're A, B, C, D. We have Lori Alexander, who's with me today. We have Leslie Byrne, former Congresswoman, former state senator. We have Jerry Connolly, who's currently the Fairfax County Board Chairman. And we have Doug Denany, who is a retired naval aviator. It's going to be an interesting primary, to say the least. The primary election will be held on June 10th. That's about 14 weeks away. So these candidates have 14 weeks to get things done. I want to tell you a little about Lori before we put her on the hot seat, so to speak. She has a bachelor's in health studies and a master's in physical therapy, both from Boston University. She is currently attending George Mason University, where she's working for a second bachelor's and a second master's, ultimately to end up with a degree that deals in chemistry, biochemistry, and environmental science. Lori currently works at the Virginia Hospital Center in Arlington as a physical therapist. She's worked at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. She has extensive clinical experience in that area. She's also volunteered overseas in both South Africa and Vietnam. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. She lives in the Mount Vernon section of Fairfax County with her husband Brian and 4 children. She was born in Lowell, Massachusetts, and she's been involved in campaigns since her mother dragged her around the first time when she was about 9 years old. Lori, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on your show.
Let's start right out. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are? And before we do that, I just want to remind you that we do accept phone calls. Our number here is 571-749-1166. So you got the stage, Lori. Okay. Tell us a little about yourself, because a lot of our voters, I think, don't yet know you.
Okay. Well, I did grow up in Lowell, Massachusetts. I was born in a very, very poor area of Lowell, Massachusetts, but it was still considered middle class. My father left at the age of 25 to protest the Vietnam War, and my mother had to raise about 5 kids on welfare and public assistance. So having had those experiences has led me at a very young age to really have deep concern for others, because I knew what it was like to have a father at home that was there to care for myself and my mother, and then all of a sudden I knew what it was like to watch my mother struggle. And we actually went to schools in the projects. My area of Lowell, Massachusetts, what happened was they built the public school in the projects. So the children who went to school with me were mostly children of low-income families, mostly had single-parent households, and it was a very, very difficult situation to be in. But I know it wasn't my mother's fault. My mother did a wonderful, wonderful job. The difference, I think, from me compared to some other kids who have never really gotten out of poverty was that my mother, we were very active with the Catholic Church, and I was an altar server. I went to church 3 times a week, and I was a Girl Scout. So even though my mother was very busy, she still gave her time and made sure that we would do the right thing. And I think that really paved a good path for me to be a strong woman and to work hard. And I've worked hard most of my life. My first job in Lowell was delivering newspapers when I was 11. And I was a newspaper girl for the Lowell Sun. And I don't know if you remember the blizzard of '78. I actually had to deliver 25 Lowell Sun papers, and so they were this thick, and I would go through the snowbanks, and I got a $20 tip because a gentleman told me, I can't believe you came out today. They didn't expect to get their paper. So that shows you how determined I am.
You talk about the blizzard of 78. I was a newspaper reporter at that point.
Okay.
And I spent my day on the seacoast of New Hampshire taking photos and interviewing the governor, who had his pants rolled up to his knees, boulders sitting in buildings and the like.
Yeah.
In fact, our big joke was within a couple of days we had all the roads in New Hampshire cleared, and Massachusetts was still a mess. We sent all of our plows down to Massachusetts to help you guys dig out, because there was a state of emergency in Massachusetts for almost a week after that.
It was. I think I remember being out of school for a week, and it was fun. We loved the snow. It was very fun.
Your slogan, one of your messages, is certainly the best choice for change.
Yes.
And obviously, I think Senator Obama has shown us that that's a pretty effective message.
Yes.
And you say that you are running for Congress because it will give you an opportunity to have a maximum impact on the issues that you care deeply about. And we're going to delve into some issues as we go through this this hour-long program.
Yes.
But let's talk a little bit about your campaign first. You've only been in it shortly. You're gathering your signatures as you speak.
Yes, yep.
I understand you're going visiting doing some door-to-door work.
Yes.
Where do you expect to get your votes? I mean, you're running against two, I call them the titans, two candidates who are well-funded,
Yes.
Or have been well-funded in the past, and we expect they will be this time.
Yes.
They're very accomplished politicians. They're versed on the issues, and they're versed in the business of politics and elections.
Yes.
So there are a finite group of voters who are going to vote in a primary.
Yes.
And where do you expect to get yours? I mean, who do you expect? What's the profile of the voter that you hope to reach and hope to win over to your side?
Well, when I've been in my community of Mount Vernon, the voters that seem, well, I can tell you this, that I live with some of the most wonderful people that I could imagine. I just love them. And regardless of their political affiliation, they have been so welcoming to me. Many open their doors, ask me to come in, and the people that seem to, I mean, it seems like it's a mixed battle. Surprisingly, most primaries you have about 20% of registered voters that do participate. So what I'm looking to do is to get those 80%, those people that don't usually participate in elections, and I think sometimes they don't participate, is because it's always the same type of people that run. And if they like a new candidate or somebody that's fresh like me, I'm an underdog. I mean, I understand I'm an underdog, and they may think, you know what, she seems like a very nice person, like they tell me. They're very impressed about all the volunteer work I've done overseas, going to Vietnam, going to South Africa, you know, being involved with the Sierra Club since 1996. And being a strong advocate for my patients. And I can tell you that most people who've had physical therapy, and this is why I love being a physical therapist, is they know we're kind, caring, considerate people. And I can speak for myself, I will do anything for my patient. And when I worked for the Mayo Clinic, we had this slogan at the Mayo Clinic that they said that the needs of the patients always come first. And in 1996, when the Mayo Clinic, went right after graduation from Boston University, the Mayo Clinic accepted me. But I just remember that, and that was instilled in me. And if the patient needs whatever, even things that a physical therapist, quote unquote, is not supposed to do, I will get them water. I will help them in the bathroom. I will clean them. I will do whatever it takes. I will give them the newspaper. I will tuck them in. And I love to do those things.
Boy, I'd love to have a congressman who tucked me in at night.
So, you know what? I would love, and this is the thing too, I think about who I would love to represent me. And before I decided to run, I thought, I want somebody who's kind, who's caring, who's sweet, who's honest, who's trustworthy. Somebody that I know is going to go up to Capitol Hill and fight for me. And I mean, I'm not getting any special interest money. So I have to rely on individual donors. And I don't have a lot of money, but I don't have any paid employees. So I'm my own campaign manager, and I go door to door. I collect all my own signatures while my kids are in school, and my husband's my treasurer. So it's a low budget campaign, but it is possible. But it's a lot of work, but I love it. I love meeting people, and I can tell you, even if I'm not successful, I have made so many new friends in my neighborhood. And I was even telling this to my husband. I am so excited that I'm meeting these people. We've been here 7 years, and we have so many wonderful neighbors. And I would love to meet them all. I hope to meet all 600,000 households. I know it's not possible, but I really want to, and I listen to them. And it's working well.
I've worked with a lot of candidates over the years. Some have won, some have not. But universally, Andy Hurst is a perfect example. You know, Andy ran in 2006, ran a very spirited and rigorous campaign, chose not to take PAC money, which caused him to raise far less money than certainly Tom Davis.
Yes.
Tom Davis spent $3.4 million or something. Andy spent under $400,000. Yes. But afterwards he said it was a life-changing experience for him, win or lose.
Yes.
That, again, similar to what I think you're discovering. How is your fundraising going? I mean, are you raising some money? I mean, you know, there's no doubt in any campaign there are certain expenses you have to meet, including getting some literature out and just the cost of traveling around the district and the gasoline and particularly at $3-something a gallon now, and they say it's going to go up to $4.
Yes.
How's the fundraising going?
Well, it's going well. I can say in about 4 weeks I'm up to about 11,000. But hopefully if we get that, some of the money has been promised. So I will file with the FEC by the end of the month if I do raise over 5,000, because once you raise over 5,000. But I haven't really done much fundraising. I haven't asked people for money. I think it's going to come. I know that sounds kind of corny, but what I want is their vote. I want them to trust me, to trust that I'll do the best job I can. And I'm hoping it'll be a total grassroots effort. I mean, I think of Paul Wellstone in his big green bus.
I've been on that big green bus.
I want that big green bus. No, actually, I was thinking about my van. If you look at my minivan, I made my own poster, $2, and I have in letters it says Lori Alexander for Congress, and I have a picture of myself. And I drive around in my minivan with my little poster. So that's, you know, I've heard that one bumper sticker is worth $200 in donations. So again, I'm going to get a few bumper stickers. I'm going to get a few yard signs, but I'm not going to go crazy. I know, you know, people were asking me whether I was going to do the yard sign wars, and I'm not going to.
Just remember, signs don't vote.
Exactly. People do, and I can tell you what's so refreshing is I've met people in my neighborhood who were Republicans, and I'll tell them, I still like you. My brother's a Republican. I love my brother, and you know what they say? They're going to come out and vote for me.
We'll hold that thought for now. We're going to have to take our first break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. My guest today is Lori Alexander. I see we have a call from Kathy from Springfield, and we'll take her right after the break. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in 2 minutes.
Wow, I got a call.
How far would you go to help someone? Would you go to the end of your driveway? Would you cross a street? Would you cross an ocean? To a place 6,000 miles from home? And how long would you go? Would you go for a week? A month? A year? Would you go for 2 years? Would you go if you could use your knowledge to teach someone, and in the process, maybe learn something yourself? Life is calling. How far will you go? Peace Corps.
James, don't forget your helmet.
Will do.
Not a helmet. Your bike helmet.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm James Thrash with the Washington Redskins. On the football field, a helmet is an important piece of equipment. I also wear another helmet that's just as important. A bike helmet. It's the most important piece of equipment you'll have the next time you're out on your bike. Wear yours and make sure your kids do too. Safety first with the Skins.
Monica and her friends want you to know that you should never get near a dog when it is eating, playing with a favorite toy, or sleeping. It's really important to make time for exercise and games and keep your dog's vaccines up to date. Never leave a dog in a small, confined space. This can make dogs aggressive like Monica. If you follow this advice, you and your dog will play safely and happily together.
Now back to the Inside Scoop, Virginia. Call in live and let your voice be heard. Here again, your host, George Burke.
Welcome back. My guest today is Lori Alexander of the Mount Vernon area of Fairfax. She's one of 4 candidates running for the Democratic nomination for the 11th Congressional District, something that's of keen interest to me since I chair the 11th Congressional District Democratic Committee. So it's like herding cats, if you want to know the truth. Before we get back to discussing some of the issues, Lori, we have a call from Kathy from Springfield. Kathy, okay. Welcome aboard. Kathy, are you there? Well, maybe we lost her. I'll get cued if she comes back on. Let's talk a little bit more about the campaign in terms of your plan. You know, I'll give you some advice, and that is that you definitely want to raise some money.
I know.
No candidate likes to raise money, but you're going to find you're going to have needs from it. I think we do have Kathy on the phone now. Kathy, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi. I'm actually calling to address the issue of the decision by Moran and Davis to consider 2 private tracks for the process of moving the jobs out of Arlington and Alexandria into Springfield.
Okay.
And I was wondering if you had any information of why they're considering these private tracts as opposed to the federal land that they were initially considering, the GSA tract property here in Springfield, and if it had anything to do with the fact that Tom Davis is retiring next year, and I'm wondering where he's going.
Well, I can address the Tom Davis part of it. I think that I don't think we've seen the last of Tom Davis as a politician in Virginia. I think you'll see him run for some other office in the future, whether it's governor, senator, or whatever. For the time being, I think that he saw his numbers dropping in each successive election as the 11th district became bluer and bluer, or changed from red to blue. You know, they had redistricted in 1990 to 92 and made that district more favorable to him at that point. I'm sorry, in 2000. And made that district more favorable to him. They put more Democrats into Jim Moran's district, and they put more Republicans into the 11th. However, it has trended back. So I think, quite frankly, Tom, you'll see him announce at some point that he has a job as a lobbyist or a principal of some law firm, and he'll make some money for a while. The other thing I want to say, you're talking about the BRAC issue in terms of the federal employees and the like. It's a very complicated issue. And a lot of it is being fueled, you know, no individual congressman has the ability to make these decisions. They certainly can weigh in for what they feel is the most benefit for their constituents. But the fact of the matter is, ultimately, a lot of those decisions are made by DOD and GSA. But anyway, Lori, Kathy basically wants to know what do you think of the whole plan, and where would you put it?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, again, I'd probably have to do a little bit more research to get a really good answer to you. But, you know, I'm very familiar with the Springfield area, living in Mount Vernon. And I can tell you one issue I have is basically about the traffic, especially around the Mount Vernon area. And I know especially on Route 1, where I think with Fort Belvoir, we definitely need to get some type of public transportation or a light rail into Fort Belvoir. So if there is going to be an increase in you know, federal jobs in the area, we really do need to provide some better transportation solutions.
Or some viable commuter incentives.
Oh, exactly. I agree with you, especially, you know, if some of these workers are working for the federal government.
Exactly.
You know, the federal government needs to help. We can't just get all the money from Virginia. I mean, we're struggling as it is. We need help from the federal government. We need rail out to Dulles, and we need rail out to Dulles, and we need rail to Fort Belvoir.
It would just be so beneficial as far as the revitalization of this area at Springfield where we live. If those jobs could come here in the town center that was promised as well, or originally promised, and the revitalization of Springfield Mall, which has already started, and the road work, which has already been begun and money set aside for. So we were hoping to get those jobs here, and all of a sudden we're hearing that perhaps they might go to Victory Center, or I can't remember the name of the other one, off of Seminary Road, which does not have the access as far as public transportation, VRE or Metro. So we're just really curious as to why they suddenly decided to look at these private tracks as opposed to the much more accessible and logical, frankly, GSA warehouse tract.
That Mark Center area I'm very familiar with, at Seminary Road and Beauregard Street 395, and that's already pretty congested.
Yes.
Exactly.
Down there. Well, I think any place you go in Northern Virginia is
Yes.
pretty congested. The other thing I think that's causing an additional problem now is where the Virginia Supreme Court shot down those regional transportation authorities.
Yes.
Here in Northern Virginia, some of that money was aimed at doing road work in anticipation of all these reconfiguring of the DOD staff
Hopefully
that's going to be moved around.
King will be able to re-propose those funds, and the Republicans will go along.
And the other thing I'd suggest to you, Kathy, is if you feel strongly about this, lobby your members of Congress, lobby all the Northern Virginia members of Congress very hard.
And I hope all of us do that. Warner, you know, Harity, all of them. Call them and tell them that you want Springfield to get those jobs.
Well, Kathy, I would like to say in closing that I'm doing this for the people, and I will do my best. I mean, again, I don't take any special interest money. I will do what's best for the people in the 11th Congressional District, and that will be my vote.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And
You're
best
welcome.
wishes. Thank you.
Thanks for
you.
calling.
Thank you.
We have another call online. We have Heather from Mount Vernon.
Hi, Heather.
Maybe we don't.
Hello?
Hi, Heather.
Hi. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. I was calling because I actually had a comment and a question. First, my comment is that as a working parent, I commend you, Lori, for getting out there and getting your voice heard. But as a parent myself with a school-age child, I was wondering what your issues were with education in the community. I'm very happy with where my daughter is at her school. But overall, where do you stand on the issue of education in the Mount Vernon area?
Let me only suggest that Lori is running for Congress, so she will be more involved in dealing with federal issues that impact education, both in terms of funding, in terms of issues like No Child Left Behind and the like. So, but I'll pass the mantle to you to talk about education.
Well, thank you for calling, Heather. And what I would like to do is fully fund No Child Left Behind. I think there's some good part of it, but I think there's other parts that are complete failures. And how can we expect our schools to, you know, accept these rules if it's not fully funded? So definitely, if I become your congresswoman, I promise that I will try to fully fund. No Child Left Behind needs to be fully funded.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's talk some issues. We have a couple of minutes left before the break. Let's go to probably the issue that defines most candidates in that race, and that's the Iraq War.
Okay.
Where do you stand on the Iraq War?
Well, of course, I think Bush, I will gladly say that I think we should have never went into Iraq. I mean, you know, I think that was the problem initially. I mean, Afghanistan, I can understand why we went to Afghanistan, but Iraq War in the beginning was a disaster. And now that we're there, my thinking is we need our troops to come home, but we need to make sure we do this to save lives, human lives. And my experience in Vietnam, you know, I mentioned to you I was in Vietnam about 1.5 years ago, and I worked in Da Nang, Vietnam. I transported $15,000 of donated supplies, and I went by myself and worked with the very, very poor people. And people loved me. They were so happy that an American who spoke a little Vietnamese, they liked that I could speak Vietnamese with them. And they told me horror stories about what happened when the Americans pulled out. One lady, I was treating her father, and she said she worked for the U.S. government, and the next day she went to work and everybody was gone. You know, and you know, so I think that way is not the way to do it. I don't think we can just take all the troops and just abandon, because some troops are going to be left behind and we're going to risk their lives. And I don't want anybody else to be killed. I don't want anybody else to have amputated arms or legs. I mean, we have to think about the injured soldiers also, not just the deaths, which of course are just terrible. But I think, again, our American soldiers do need to come home, but we have to do it very smart. We have to think about what's in the best interest of the United States government and the people.
We're reaching the 4,000 mark in terms of deaths in Iraq, and I saw an interesting statistic today that half of those deaths are young men and women under the age of 24.
Yes.
Which I think is, you know, and for a war that we went into under false pretenses.
Yes.
You know, we were lied to. The Senate was lied to. Now we're in a morass that could last for years, if not decades, if we don't do anything. Well, we reached the halfway mark in our program. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Again, my guest is Lori Alexander, candidate for Congress in the 11th District. Please don't hesitate to call us at 571-749-1166, and we'll be right back.
Go to jail for a gun crime, and your family serves a sentence with you.
I'm Bob Costas, and I've been broadcasting sports for a long time. Much of what I do is ad-libbed, but still one of the most important aspects of my job is being able to write. Narrations, essays, commentaries. It's essential to express those thoughts and concepts clearly and concisely. Good writing is essential for almost any career. And with today's advanced technology, the National Commission on Writing reports that the need to write well has never been more important. Writing is everybody's business.
Sure, my neighbors Gene and Louise, they may be superheroes with superpowers, but that doesn't make them so super at saving energy and money.
Honey?
I may not be able to harness the power of the elements, but I save significant cash and help the environment with appliances, electronics, and windows featuring the Energy Star label. So discover your own energy-saving superpowers. Go to ase.org/consumers.
Mom, Dad's making fondue again.
Now back to the Inside Scoop Virginia. Call in live and let your voice be heard. Here again, your host, George Burke.
Welcome back. I hope you found the show informative so far. Those of you who tend to watch Inside Scoop Virginia know that I'm gradually working my way through the 4 candidates. We've had Doug Deneny and Leslie Byrne on. We have Lori Alexander tonight. Jerry Connolly is scheduled to be on our program, not next Sunday, but the following Sunday after that. So after that, we'll start talking about some debates. We hope to have 3 debates around the 11th Congressional District, 1 in Fairfax City, 1 in Fairfax County, and 1 in Prince William County, which are the 3 jurisdictions that are in the 11th District. And then we will do one hopefully on this television program as well, and that should be interesting. We'll have all 4 of them at all these debates, and we'll let you, the voters, decide who's the best choice to challenge what looks like a guy named Keith Fimian will be the Republican nominee. There are a couple of other names being thrown about, but I think he is the anointed one from their party's perspective. Not well known, but apparently has some money. Anyway, Lori, let's talk about healthcare for a while. Obviously, it's an area that you are intimately involved in, and I'd ask you to start. You talked a little bit about spending time in Vietnam, and I know you also went to South Africa. Yeah. How did this come about? How did you end up doing these things? Did you go under the auspices of some organization, or did you just pick up and go over there? How'd you do it?
Well, probably Mother Teresa. As young as I can remember, and I'm a Catholic, but I never had any horrible experiences in the Catholic Church. Luckily for me, and if you grow up in the Lowell, Massachusetts area, probably I would say 80 to 90% of the people in that area are Catholic. And the Catholic Church was the one organization that really helped the poor people. And I was told over and over again by the priest that I was so special because I was poor, and that Jesus loves the poor. And then, of course, I heard the wonderful stories about Mother Teresa. I didn't become a nun because I wanted to have children, but that was one of the things that I thought about initially, because I really wanted to, right away, I knew I wanted to become a healthcare professional and work with people. And actually, my desire was not to work with the average people, but I love that you work with the leopards, because you know what, I treat people that have bilateral amputations, that sometimes have one limb, but I just love them. To me, I think everybody is different. I think I was born with, this unique quality that I can really love to work with people. And the more impaired they are, the more I love to work with them. And so what I decided to do, and I've always volunteered my whole entire life for many different organizations, but right away when I was a student, and I graduated from BU in '96, I joined an organization called Health Volunteer Overseas. And what that organization does is it sends doctors and physical therapists to countries. But the difficult thing about it is you have to pay for your plane ticket, and you have to pay for all your expenses. So being a single parent at that time, I had to, save up. It was an expensive trip. But the first trip was in South Africa, and I saved up enough money, and of course I had to work weekends at the Mayo Clinic because I was working full-time. So in order to get a whole month off to volunteer in South Africa, I had to work every weekend, and we call what's called paid time off, that in order to take a whole month off, to get paid for it because I was paying back student loans and had a child. I saved enough money and then set a date. And I think it was in 1999, I brought my child with me. My son Joey came with me. He was 12 years old. And we went by ourselves to Umtata.
And
now,
he's 21 now.
He's
correct?
21 now. And the reason why I chose Umtata is because I hated apartheid, which everybody hates apartheid. It's terrible. But do you know that Americans could not go over there until they let Nelson Mandela out of jail? And once apartheid was disintegrated, they opened up the visas, and I was right over there. And of course, I worked in the very, very poor area of South Africa. Now, South Africa, of course, is still segregated. You have your very wealthy whites that live in Cape Town, and you have some people in Johannesburg, but Umtata is one of those areas, that's where actually Nelson Mandela grew up. And they had a hospital called the Nelson Mandela Rehabilitation Hospital. And I went there because I wanted to tell the people that I was American, and I'm white, but I love you, that I care about you, that we care about you as a country. And the people, I can't tell you how excited the people were. Now, I was the only American there at that time because most of we have nuns that were there from South America. We had Europeans. The Cuban doctors were there, but I was the one American that was there. And they would hold my hand and say, "Why did you come all the way here to work with me, a woman who's dying of AIDS?" And I said, because I care. And when I go overseas, I always think about the U.S. international relationship. I think, if more and more of us, it's like...
Unlike President George Bush.
Yeah, it's like the Peace Corps, which is wonderful, but every time we go to another country and help the people, we're telling the world that we're not like George Bush. We care about you, and we care about people. And I'm going to show you that Americans are good, and Americans are kind, and Americans are generous. And I leave there, even though it's very costly, I leave there feeling unbelievably good that I want to go back. And so that's why it took me a few more years, and my youngest was 1 year old when I decided to go to Vietnam. But of course I had to stop breastfeeding. But when I finished breastfeeding at 1, I went ahead and went to Vietnam. And it was difficult for the kids, and my husband watched them, but I have a great in-laws who have been living in the 11th Congressional District for 37 years, and they did help them out. But again, it was another wonderful experience. And I did the same thing. I worked with people who were still had themselves and their children had some disabilities from the Agent Orange. Some of them were affected and are still being harmed by some of the damage that was caused during the Vietnam War. So it's really interesting. But again, I'm a very proud American, and I'm very proud that I've made a difference in some of these countries.
We have a call coming in from Lee. The only thing I wanted to say to you was I had the privilege of an audience with Mother Teresa once with a member of Congress I worked for. Well, boy, it's got to be 25 years ago now, 20 years ago anyway, at least 20. And she was frail then, and she continued to do her good work. We have Lee from Alexandria on the phone. Lee, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Lee.
What can we do for you?
Now, this question is for Lori Alexandra.
Okay.
I wanted to know, Lori, how do you stand on universal health care?
Well, I am pro-universal health care. I can tell you, as a mother of a 21-year-old, I'm going to tell you this story, that my son, who's 21, when he was 18 years old, he decided, like some children do, that he did not want to go to college. I was, as a mother, and with insurance, I was not able to cover my child because he wasn't a full-time college student. So my son started working, I think he had a fast food job, and then he decided to go to Walmart. But he was uninsured for 2 years before he had to work a whole year at Walmart before they would give him insurance. And he was in a car accident. And he didn't have any insurance, and thank God he wasn't injured. But if he was seriously injured, what would have happened? I mean, again, I think we need to cover all people, especially the children. We have to do that. And again, I'm a strong advocate, a strong patient advocate for quality care and a strong advocate for universal health care. And it needs to be done. There's no question.
Does that answer your question, Lee?
Yes, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for calling.
Let's stay on healthcare a little bit. It's a very complex subject. You know, some people suggest there should be a single payer plans. Some people suggest the plan should involve our existing insurance structure. I'm not going to try and pin you down because it is an incredibly complicated subject that we all have a lot to learn, and hopefully under a Democratic administration, whichever one of the candidates wins the nomination, I think they're both good candidates, and hopefully wins the presidency, we'll see some movement in that direction, and there'll be a great deal of debate on how we do it. Both Clinton and Obama's plans are a little bit different, but they both try to get close to the same place. But give me your thoughts. You know, let's expand on healthcare a little bit, and if you have any thoughts on how we pay for that and how we do it. And certainly, I mean, the first argument is we're spending something like $12 billion a day or a month, whatever. I think it's whatever it is. It's some unbelievable amount of money in Iraq. And if we did not have to be spending that money, we would be flush with cash in terms of how we could solve some of these problems.
Exactly. Well, I think again, you know, if the Iraq War, there's a lot of money that we're wasting that could be used for health care. In terms of covering every American too, you know, we did that tax credit, you know, for the wealthiest Americans. I think we definitely have to roll back that. I mean, definitely, that needs to be done. But another issue too, I've seen a lot of waste in healthcare, being a physical therapist, and I've seen procedures that have been done that should not have been done. And you know, my thinking especially is with Medicare patients too. I mean, there's not enough people that are sort of looking into it. I mean, basically sometimes, like for example, when I'm working with a patient who has got total knee surgery, bilateral total knee surgery, that hasn't walked in 2 years and lives in a nursing home, that person does not need total knee replacements if they're non-ambulating, but it gets done. And another issue I had too was with a woman I treated who had, you know, was in her late 80s, and she had a little chest pain, and she got cleaned out, you know, a little procedure to clean out her clogged arteries, which many people have clogged arteries, and many people take medicine for that, but they went ahead and Medicare paid for it. But the lady has been bedridden for 2 years, and she was probably about 400 pounds. And I remember going into her room, and she was eating a cheeseburger, and she started swearing at me because she didn't want to get onto bed. And I'm thinking, if I was that cardiovascular surgeon, would I have done that procedure? I mean, and as a physical therapist, we have to write goals. Number one, we have to type all of our notes. We have to type all of our evaluations, all of our treatment notes, and we're not allowed to treat somebody unless we can prove, unless we can write goals that they'll reach those goals. So insurance companies won't pay for what's called passive care. That means if a person is unable to reach a certain goal, if they're non-ambulatory and we don't think they can walk, we can't do gait training. So why are some people allowed to do procedures that are clearly not the most economically favorable, and that might actually harm the patient? So I think, again, we have a number of issues here. I think we do need a little bit more oversight, but you'll get that with the universal health care plan, I think. And I think that's what we need to do. And the money would come from, of course, you know, fraud, making sure that there's no fraud in the healthcare industry.
We are taking our third and last break. When we come back, we'll hear from Lori on the environment. We'll talk about the economy a little bit, and we'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in 2 minutes.
One day, I forgot to throw away my trash after lunch, but then I saw it later when I was playing in the woods. boating with my grandpa, and there it was. I tried to go swimming, but I couldn't because of my trash. And when I went fishing, well, you can guess what I caught that day. So now I always throw away my trash in the garbage can, where it belongs.
1 in 8 Americans goes hungry. One idea helped change that. A community started a garden that blossomed into farmers markets. 1 in 6 children lives in poverty. One group of women found an answer by opening a daycare center that their neighbors could afford. Today, 36 million Americans live in poverty. But one by one, people are helping themselves and each other to change the picture of poverty to one of hope. For easy ways you can help, visit povertyusa.org.
Every year, 250,000 Americans are diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease.
My fellow scientists and I are working on treatments and a cure for this deadly disease.
Millions of lives are at stake. Alzheimer's disease affects 1 in 3 families.
We're committed to uncovering the mystery of Alzheimer's.
And we're not going to quit until the job is done.
To find out more about Alzheimer's disease, call 1-800-437-2423.
Only through research will a cure be found.
James, don't forget your helmet.
Will do.
Not a helmet. Your bike helmet.
Oh, okay.
Hi, I'm James Thrash with the Washington Redskins. On the football field, a helmet is an important piece of equipment. I also wear another helmet that's just as important. A bike helmet. It's the most important piece of equipment you'll have the next time you're out on your bike. Wear yours and make sure your kids do too. Safety first with the Skins.
Now back to the Inside Scoop Virginia. Call in live and let your voice be heard. Here again, your host, George Burke.
Welcome back. My guest today is 11th District Congressional candidate Lori Alexander. And we have a call from Ricky from Alexandria. Ricky, are you there?
Hold on. Are you for staying or are you for going? David,
I guess Ricky is having a conversation while he's on the phone.
Hello?
Hi, Ricky.
I just want to ask you a question. What is your position in Iraq war?
Okay, okay, Ricky. Okay, my thinking is for the Iraq war, definitely I think we need to bring our troops home. There's no question about that. I think we should have never entered Iraq in the beginning. I understand that Afghanistan was a different situation, but not Iraq. But I think we have to be very careful how we do that. And I don't want the same thing happening in Iraq, which happened in Vietnam, where we didn't, we just sort of ran out of there and leaving people, to run and hide. I don't want any American soldiers killed, and I don't want any Iraqis killed. And I think the main thing is we have to do a careful withdrawal plan, but just so that we can do it in a way that the government can take over and to keep the people safe.
Okay. What do you think? I heard that you want to help about health. What about Spanish people?
Excuse me?
What about Spanish people in the health system? It's health care. Yes.
Oh, okay. So covering for health care?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Again, I do believe in universal health care. And I know it would be very expensive, but like I was saying earlier, I think that there are some areas that we can improve on. I think sometimes many people, I do know there's many cases where insurance companies do automatically reject someone for a treatment. So I think definitely that we have to make sure that everybody gets the treatment they need in a cost-effective and a quick quality of care way. But I do think there's other areas that, sometimes I see people making probably millions of dollars on doing possibly some unnecessary procedures. So I think we need to go ahead and not make it so lucrative for people to make lots of money off the government.
Right, okay. Because I'm Hispanic, and I worry about that. I mean, I can help you a lot with that, but I just want to make sure that where we're going to be the environment too.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, I've been a member of the Sierra Club since 1996, and I was the Southeastern Minnesota director of the Sierra Club for 5 years. I restarted that group. It was called the Wojioja Group, and I joked to George about this earlier that I was environmentalist before it became popular. Now it's popular, but everything that people are saying now about global warming, about the air quality, the terrible code red days that we have in Northern Virginia, which I'm just tired of. I am tired of these code red days. I've been wanting that to be fixed since 1996, and I feel so fortunate that I may have a chance to go to Congress and to do something about it.
Right.
All right, thank you very much, Ricky. We appreciate your call.
Thank you, Ricky.
Let's stay on the environment for another couple of minutes. How do you see us solving the global? There are some people who suggest it's too late. Not that we don't attempt to do something, but that we've gone so far it could take generations, and maybe we go so far we can never reverse it. But what type of, if you were sitting as a member of Congress and you had input into policy, what would you suggest that we do?
Okay, for the environment. Well, initially I think the main thing is about the environment is let's get the scientists back into Washington. Being a chemist and working with environmental chemists, and there's a wonderful one, Dr. Gregory Foster, who's a wonderful environmental chemist at George Mason University, and he's been studying that the fish now in the Potomac actually have their endocrine receptors are sort of messed up, and they have dual sex organs. And he's studying that, but what the interesting thing is that the government tends not to work with the scientists. And they know. We have the best universities in this country. We have some of the best and smartest scientists. Let's get them back in. Let's ask their opinion. Being a scientist, I'm a very proud chemist. And you know what? We need people in Washington that understand the environment. But again, I think that we need to do whatever we can to, maybe we can't completely reverse things, but we definitely can make it better. And I think that we need to do that. I think we definitely need to do that.
It's tough when you have the administration that acts more like the Flat Earth Society than science friendly. What about alternative fuels?
Well, I'm very pro on alternative fuels. I think we need to support research in that area. Definitely. My thinking, the only thing is I hope that doesn't happen is, living in Minnesota for 5 years, I definitely don't want people to stop their crops, to help to feed us, and then go ahead and just only start to plant corn and ethanol, because then the food prices, of course, are going to go skyrocket. But I do think we need to go ahead and again, get the scientists in and support the scientists and, allow them to do research, but they need help. The Bush administration has cut back on research in almost every single area. And, we talk about jobs, we talk about losing American jobs. Well, these scientists, there's many people aren't going into chemistry because there's no jobs. But maybe if we go ahead and give more money to research, have better paying jobs, then we'll get people getting excited about chemistry and mathematics and physics and all of those wonderful things. So, that's my thinking.
With the price of fuel as it is now, we're seeing food prices go up, and I feel really bad for the farmers and the truckers. They're not reaping the same level of return that they would normally reap because of the price of fuel. We're going to, we've got several minutes left, not too many. Okay. I wanted to get your thoughts on the economy. I mean, our economy is, I don't want to suggest it's going down the toilet, but with the subprime, mortgage issue. We're seeing housing values decline. We're seeing more and more people facing foreclosure or walking away from their homes.
Yes.
We're seeing some inflation, prices of food. Many other products are rising, partially because of the fuel cost.
Yes.
And we're seeing record deficits again out of the Bush administration. The Clinton administration balanced the budget, and the Bush administration has sent it to hell in a handbasket again.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Well, again, my thinking is, especially when the Iraq war started, I mean, still keeping those tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans, to me, doesn't make sense. This war has been extremely expensive, and this is why we're in the dilemma we are now. And my thinking again is, we need to roll back those tax cuts for the wealthiest, but help the middle class. The middle class is what makes the democracy, and we need to help the middle class. And my thinking again, take back those tax cuts for the wealthy. If you give more money to the middle class, then they'll be able to afford to pay for gas and food, and then they'll spend again. There's many people that feel the reason why we're having problems is because people are not out spending money, and so much of our GDP depends on spending.
Yeah, we are definitely a service-oriented economy these days. One of the things I always do with candidates before we end the program, Lori, and I want to do the same thing with you,
yes,
is give you the opportunity to speak directly to the viewers, the voters. Okay. Tell them why they should vote for you and ask for their vote.
Okay.
It's all yours. Give me about a minute.
Okay, well, thank you so much for giving me the time to speak with you this evening. I want to let you know that I am a person just like you. I'm a concerned citizen. I'm not a politician, and I'm ready to change Washington. And I think the problems that we've had in Washington is that it's always the same type of people that get elected to Congress. I don't know how many congresswomen have 4 children, and I think I would be the first physical therapist in history to become a congresswoman. And I need your help. I need your vote, and I need your help, because I can tell you that I will think about you. Every time there's legislation, I will think about you and what's best for the people in the 11th Congressional District, not what's best for the special interests. I'm a good, kind, caring, hardworking individual. I have many, many experiences in my life, but it has made me a better person, and I can help you. So please, I ask for your vote. The June 10th Democratic primary. If you're an independent, if you're a Republican, you can vote in the June 10th primary, and I really need your support and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. We've got just a few seconds left, and just to give a brief recap. First of all, I think you did a fabulous job.
Thank
You
you.
told me before you came on the show it was the first time you've ever
Yes.
been on television. I think you handled yourself very well.
Thank you.
I thank you for joining me this evening. I think you've done a good job of enlightening the viewers. As I said, next week we will have candidate for Fairfax City Council, Dan Drummond, on. The week after that, we'll have congressional candidate Jerry Connolly. So on behalf of Lori Alexander, my guest, and myself,